Commodore ZB. We finally get to drive them today. A lot of people seem to think that it's not worthy of that badge. We're going to drive these cars today and see if that badge really deserves to be on the back of that car. So the first car we're in is the Calais Tourer. So this is pretty much at the top of the pecking order for the new Commodore. So this is kind of like a slightly higher riding Calais wagon. It's got the all-wheel drive system, and we have an Australian in the back. And he's going to tell us why this car deserves to have a Commodore badge on the back of it, which is what I know you all want to know. So David, the floor is yours. Why should we think of this car as a Commodore and not as an insignia?
It comes down to what your definition of a Commodore is, and everyone's going to have their own. I'll tell you my definition. If you look at the history of Commodore, it's always had a few things. It's always been a car that looks great. It's been a car that's great to drive. And it's been an opportunity for Holden to introduce a whole stack of new technology. And this car ticks all of those boxes. In fact, once you've driven it, I think you'll agree, or I hope you'll agree, that in the end we would have been crazy to call it anything other than a Commodore. This is the Commodore we've been working on since 2011, so this was always going to be the next car.
Can you tell us a bit about what the specifics that you've done to this car to bring it into the Australasian market and feel like at home on our roads?
Holden's involvement, for example, a big part of the work-share program for this car was to do local chassis tunes to make sure that on our roads we like the way the car drives. And the guy who tuned the suspension is Rob Tribbiani. He did the VF, so it's no surprise that it feels like a Commodore.
Okay, first time behind the handlebars. Yeah, it's very eager right from the get-go, very eager on throttle. If you're going to buy a Commodore, you're going to expect it to drive a certain way, and within the first 500 metres, to me, as a Commodore owner, this car, and this is the Tourer, remember, this is not the VXR, so this is the kind of the lifestyle option, feels good. So we've got a 9-speed automatic transmission, got the option of self-shifting if you want, but as David explained in our preliminary chat, the more gears you've got, the less likely you are you're going to actually be able to self-shift to any benefit, because the transmissions are very clever, very clever. They know what you want, they know who's on board, they know their middle names, they know their blood types, they know everything about you. So the transmission will choose the right gear for your requirements. That's what you found, isn't it, Alistair?
It does.
In corners, the car's very settled, very reassured. Doesn't seem to be wanting for grip at all. This looks good. Looks good, eh? Okay, VXR. This is the high-performance-ish version, isn't it?
It is.
So it's a lift-back body. It's all-wheel drive, 3.6 litre V6, 235 kilowatts. So it's a little bit more powerful than the old SV6. What do you reckon?
It feels like you're driving a quality high-end European car. It doesn't have that. It doesn't feel like an Aussie Commodore. I guess it's a character, it's an intangible thing. It's got all the gadgets. It's really refined, goes well, but it doesn't have that sort of that intangible Commodore feel to it. I think that's where it's going to be the sticky point for Holden.
Yeah, you're right. You did right. It's so much beyond the technology and the specification of the car. It's the vibe it puts out, and it's so hard to nail that down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like the feel-good factor.
I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's competent. It's really, really competent. And for people who haven't driven a Holden, maybe those people are going to feel really at ease in this car, because it's more, I don't know, maybe because it doesn't have that Australasian kind of rudimentary feel to it, and they expect this sophistication and this European vibe. They'll certainly get that in this car. But for the people who have had Commodores in the past, where are they going to go? That's the thing. What else are they going to buy? I've got this car coming up. I've got the VXR going to come up on a full test, so I'll have a week with the vehicle and we'll run it through its usual paces and really get to know it, and that's where I'll really reserve my final decision about the car until. So it's another car change, and we're in a 2-litre wagon, petrol. Two-wheel drive only, front-wheel drive only, and we'll want to see how that goes, won't we? What do you think about a front-wheel drive Commodore?
Doesn't seem right, does it?
9-speed automatic again in this car. If you're into fleet cars, this is where you'll be sitting.
If you're a policeman,
taxi, still a Commodore size, well, new Commodore size. The main thing I think about Commodore that people might experience is the proximity you have to your neighbour. They say it's about 36 millimetres narrower, this new car, inside than the outgoing VF, and you notice that when you're looking at your hip to hip of the person next to you. The 2-litre engine is actually more powerful than the old 3-litre Evoque, which is what this car's sort of forefather would have been in VF language. Yeah, gets along, doesn't it? Very suddenly we're up at around, well, I can't really say actually. We're going through some reasonably high-speed corners here in this front-wheel drive wagon, and it's feeling no less assured than the all-wheel drive. Actually, there's no feeling of it being nose heavy. It doesn't seem to want to understeer. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of torque steer either. So it seems to be a very neutral handling car. A lot of people wouldn't know which end's doing the pushing or pulling. When you drive the car, and that's what Commodores are all about, right? They're about driving. And when you do drive these new cars, you do feel that they're very, very capable. The other thing outside of that is, of course, the kind of the character of the cars. Now, that's where these new cars have got some work to do, because look, to be fair, they just do not have the character of an Australian-built Commodore. They don't have the kind of homely familiarity that Australian-built Commodores have always seemed to have. But they're undeniably superior in terms of tech and specification. Massaging seats, LED matrix headlights, 360-degree surround view, cameras, all that new tech is really nice and really great to have at this price point. Go and check it out, whether you've been a Commodore driver before or a Holden driver before or not. The cars do warrant a thorough examination and a road test. Forget about the badge, just drive it on its own merits.